Hi, Francie. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. Sorry, Elijah. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Happy day.
Beautiful, beautiful. Same here. Thank you. And you see, oftentimes, Francie, I love to thank my guest for two main things. So, firstly, I want to thank you for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this
Hmm.
platform right now because you invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Francie, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some months back,
Mm,
yeah, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it and the leaves were all dry. I just walked past it. But you see,
mm.
Francie, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree because it caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it to have a good look, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. But you see, not just mangoes, but ripe mangoes. It was a beautiful moment that day, Francie. I was really excited. Now, my point is the fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing person that you are today. That alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you see you got the request from me to be on the show. Because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, the fruit of your work, your philosophy, and the impact it is having. It is amazing. And I said to myself that myself and my audience, we've got to benefit from this amazing stuff that Francis is doing. And that's why you got the request from me. And the second thanks is thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing I could do about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Beautiful.
First of all, I love a mango also, and I love to eat fruit, like fresh fruit off a
That's
tree. So
right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like night and day.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you.
And there's also that great Kamala Harris mango story. What do you think? You just fell out of a mango tree?
Yeah.
You remember? Do you ever hear that one? I don't know. Yeah, no, so thank you. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate all your kind words.
Beautiful. Me too. Thank you so very much for honoring the invite. So let's get started. You see, Francie, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to experience or transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, I believe it takes the application of knowledge. You see, not just knowledge, but the application of it. And you see, Francie, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing
Yeah, I love.
Francie on the show is for the sake of the listeners. You see, Francie, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, powerful, and very important information, of which I'm totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Francie, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or professional journey. We're just so curious right now. We want to know how you got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some
Yeah,
beautiful questions for you. Okay, Francie, over to you.
gosh. Well, that is a loaded question because I can talk about this for hours. I don't have a background in coaching or human resources. I'm just a person who's switched careers a bunch of times. And I came upon a statistic that millions of manufacturing workers in America had lost their jobs since year 2000. I did a lot of research to see if that was true, and yes, somewhere between 5 million and 15 million manufacturing workers have lost their jobs. And so I thought, well, wow, I mean, here we are in America. There's so much boom and bust. It's a capitalist system. There must be somebody helping people with career change. Because what do you do if you are a manufacturing worker and your job goes away. And I just figured, so I was sort of looking for I call it the Yahoo of career change. Like, what's the Yahoo of career change? And I couldn't find it. And I kept looking and looking, and I kept thinking, oh, I'm just using the wrong keywords. And then I just realized I don't think it really exists. And I think that's crazy, because there's so many people in the world, and especially America, where, there's like a boom and a bust in one industry, and you may have a whole career in that industry. But then what happens when the industry goes away? Who's helping you transition to a new one? And I just was like shocked that didn't exist. And I'm not also, by the way, I'm not also like before this, I was not like a big entrepreneur. I mean, I kind of started this other business, but I became really obsessed with this problem, and I started dreaming about it, and like I just couldn't let it go. And I was like, I wrote like a little like diatribe, and I sent it to my cousin, who's like a educational entrepreneur type, and he said, "Oh, this is a really good idea. Let's work on this together and figure out where it can go." And that's kind of how it all started. But I sort of laugh a little bit too, because this started from like my values and like what I believe should exist in the world. But the problem with that is it didn't start with a business model, right? So it took me a long time to get to like the right business model that made sense. And so I say to people as like advice, if there's someone listening to this thinking they're interested in entrepreneurship, is to really be clear about, if you're starting something from like a values or like a belief system, that may take a lot longer than seeing an opportunity in the market, which may be really easy to figure out the business model. And so that is just something I like to tell people, because it's this whole initial idea, like, I mean, the glimmer in my eye, that first time I heard that statistic was 2016. And so here we are in 2020, and like, I'm like very clear in the business model and very clear in what's happening, and we're in full on sales mode. But it took a while, because I started as a community, which I don't know anything about. And then I basically came up with the idea of group coaching to make it more affordable for people who needed help, but didn't have a lot of money to spend on experts. And so that's where I ended up landing, realizing that really this whole thing is about connecting experts to individuals in an affordable way.
Powerful and interesting story. And your journey is really very, very inspiring. And the part that caught my attention really hard is that part where you mentioned that you started searching for, what's the word again? Is it Yahoo? Yahoo? I can't remember how you put it.
The Yahoo, the Yahoo of career change. Yeah. Like Yahoo in the old days, it's sort of like the place where you go where you want something that's like really cheap, but like you get the good information, but you don't have to pay a lot. Like Yahoo Finance was so good for so long. Even still now, I feel like they have better information than like you want to look up a stock price or something.
Yeah, and you didn't find what you were looking for, and now you became the solution you couldn't find. And that's very, very inspiring, right. I tell you. Because if many folks can understand this stuff about, if you can find something around, then become it, I believe the world wouldn't be like this. It'll be much more better. And now you came up with a lot of devices and strategies to make this stuff affordable, and which is amazing. So I would say your story is very inspiring, and I love it. And I'm going to listen to our conversation over and over again. Yeah, because things like this I love to hear. So let us begin on the first question. All right, let us talk about positive mindset. Yeah, how does a positive mindset impact the workforce? Got it?
Well, the positive mindset, right, is the perspective that you can make a difference. Everything you do is for the better, right? When you say positive mindset, the first thing that pops into my mind is actually we have this incredible coach who's a psychology PhD. His name is Dr. Stephen Long, and he created a test to teach people how to outperform. And it started because he was a football coach and a football player. And he said every year there would be like one or two kids where like they were scrawny, they didn't seem that talented, and they would end up being like the best kid on the team. And he said there was some personality type where like they were able to like go way further than their talent. And so he basically, his whole life work has been about how to teach this. And to me, that's what positive mindset is, and basically what he found is a lot of what positive mindset is and what outperformance is looking at everything as an education and like leaving ego out of it. And so it's the kids that were really good and went beyond their talent are kids who are saying, what can I do better? What can I learn tomorrow? How can I, use all of my time for this goal I have in mind? Who can I learn from? As opposed to saying, it's not my fault. This guy had an error, or I'm on a bad team, or I'm so talented. No one can tell me anything that's different. Do any better. And I think that is like encapsulates the whole thing of positive mindset. And it can be really hard when you are around people maybe who don't have that. I think that's actually the hardest part is having a positive mindset if you don't feel like you're supported with a community of people who are also like helping you live that. And that's actually, I think, really the hardest part of it.
Exactly. And I think that's where many people miss it. Because I remember vividly a time like that
Yeah.
when I wanted to do something and I told it to my folks that, oh man, they said, you are daydreaming. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. Then, you see, it almost weighed me down because these are the folks that I confide in and I trust them. Then I said to myself, what if they are wrong? So I decided not to tell them about it again. Then I started doing it all by myself and, trying to get knowledge and all of this thing. Then boom, I accomplished it. So I went to meet them afterward. I said, I did it. They said, tell me you lied. I said, nah, I ain't lying. It's the truth. I did it. Then they said, oh, wow, how did you do it? That's amazing. You did good job. Then I said to them, I said, if I had listened to you all when you were telling me it couldn't work out, then I would have become a failure. And I would have believed it wouldn't work out. So I get what you're saying. You're right. The community and the folks you're with also matters a lot. So we have two more questions to go, Francie. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us talk about coaching. So how does coaching help companies save money?
Yeah. So it can be counterintuitive, but basically what happens is that there's a relationship between employee turnover, and reducing employee turnover and group coaching. And we have case studies and there are research studies showing this. And really what it is that individuals, especially now like younger individuals, like in the generations of millennials and Gen Z, expect professional development at their job. So that's like everyone has to do it to keep employees. But beyond that, when you're able to help people grow in their career on the job, they're less likely to leave. It increases loyalty. And it's a little bit counterintuitive, especially people in the baby boomer generation that were more linear about training. And they kind of thought about training and professional development as having a one-to-one relationship to what they're doing at the organization. And that might be the case, let's say if you're making widgets, right? Like, I'm actually not an expert on blue collar work, but I think that's where the idea came from, which was like it's not linear. So, and it's not particularly related to like what I'm asking this person to do. So I wouldn't pay for it. And it'll also make them maybe more valuable and someone else will hire them away. They'll recruit them away. But really, in the knowledge economy, where ideas drive market value for organizations, you want people to be as educated as possible in all areas, because then that will increase communication among the employees and innovation, and then revenue and profitability. And when everything's working and things are firing on all cylinders and people know how to communicate with each other and know how to solve problems, the turnover drops precipitously, and there's a cost to turnover. There's a case study that one of our coaches wrote showing that a 4,500 person healthcare organization had a big turnover problem, and they brought in group coaching, and it was helping the employees develop a language that they all used together to kind of communicate what was going on. And it was top to bottom. The CEO was involved along with the lowest person on the totem pole. And every year their employee turnover dropped 1 or 2% every year. Like it never flatlined or anything. After 9 years, they got to 4% turnover. And when I first heard that, I thought, yay, 4% turnover, good for you, yay. But here's the thing. that the difference between 24% turnover and 4% turnover was for that group $33 million a year. So now they have additional $30 million a year to do with whatever they want that they didn't have when they had 24% turnover.
That's amazing. Wow. I didn't know how important that stuff is. Not until now that you just explained it. Okay, beautiful. All right, we have one more question to go, Francie. Okay, so what is the best way to test new training programs before rolling them out?
Yeah, test the training. Well, the first thing I'm really a big believer in is surveys. I think there can be a problem where the buyer thinks there's a different problem than the employees think. And so you really want to have a survey of the people that are actually going to receive the training or the coaching. I also think starting small with like a beta is really valuable, meaning, you just have a small cohort and you're starting to learn what works, what doesn't work, how you would tweak it to make it better for a larger group. I also think we're a huge fan of having control groups. So one of the things with coaching and professional development is people who are buyers think it's woo-woo or it's hard to quantify or it's sort of like the air, like how would you know it works? It's like too hard to measure. And so actually you can measure it. And the way you can measure it is by tracking two groups. And one group is the control group that gets no training, right? So they're surveyed before and after, and it's during this like time series. Whereas the other group gets training or coaching, and they have the same surveys before and after. And then you also look at what's happening within the company and within those groups over, let's say, 6 months or a year, whatever the thing is. And you can see, like, is there a difference? Like, what happens to the retention of the different groups? What happens to the profitability, the innovation, all these kinds of metrics. And then there are even more like very like hardcore accounting metrics you can do as well. And so there's a ton of ways to quantify this. And that's what we help people with as well. So, typically the coaches, what they're really good at is like one-on-one change and helping people be better. Or like that story you had, I think, was it your parents or when you were telling them an idea you had and they're like, no way, you'll never be able to do that. Yeah, I have a story like that too with my parents. And so my joke is the coaches, guess what? They're trained. They are people who are like professional cheerleaders. And they won't say you're dreaming. They won't say that will never happen. They'll say, let's make it happen. Let's start. How can we start the process to get you to that goal? And so that's what they do. But they're not necessarily like number crunchers. So they don't really have the numbers typically at their fingertips to be able to say, here's the impact, here's the return on investment, and that's kind of where we come in. So we can kind of do like the quantification and then bring in these experts who are just incredible with people. And like I said, I'm not a coach. My background is in finance. I went to business school. So I love the numbers and the data. And I like the infrastructure of creating a business that helps a lot of people.
Beautiful. What you're doing is amazing, and that's a very effective way, and I love
Thank
it.
you.
So to bring this to an end, Francie, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about everything we've talked about, how can that be possible?
Yeah, well, our website is terawatt.co, so TERAWATT.co. And we have like a way to contact me via email on the website, or I'm on LinkedIn. Both Terawatt and I am pretty active on LinkedIn. Those are probably the best ways to learn about what we're up to. And I think like my final piece of advice for people is if there's something that you believe in or you're drawn to or attracted to, try to find other people that want to help you get that. Like the more that, and because I think it's also really important to ignore people that aren't actively helping you, because it doesn't mean that they don't believe you can't do it. It's that you are tapping into some fear that they have. It has something to do with you. And so you just need to say, like, here's the heart, here's the desire I have in my heart. I'm just, no matter what, going to figure this out.
That's right. Beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, Francie. Thank you for coming. And thank you for sharing this invaluable information with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you so much.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you so much, Elijah. It's a real pleasure. Real pleasure. Thank you.
That was a beautiful